With all the faux outrage surrounding the fake news generated around President Trump and the November election, you might be missing what's going on across the big pond. It seems Great Britain may be planning on breaking international law in regards to its recently negotiated Brexit deal. Who cares? You should, as it may have direct ramifications on your freedom and independence after the election. We'll explain and suggest ways you can help in this episode of Activate America, Getting Active to Throw Off Government Tyranny. If someone barged into your house and started telling you how to run your household and your family, then that might make you a bit upset, wouldn't it? Now, imagine a similar scenario with an international government body coming in to tell your elected officials how to run their country. Well, welcome to the European Union, and welcome to the globalist method of stripping sovereignty from nations through unelected and unaccountable bureaucracy. While we're all worried about COVID-19, criminals rioting, and the presidential election, the UK has been working through Brexit talks, specifically about trade, which really isn't going all that well. In all of this, the UK has decided to work out specific details in the agreement regarding Northern Ireland. Now, without getting into all of the details, this means renegotiating a part of it. This revelation has gotten the globalists up in arms. They are accusing Prime Minister Boris Johnson of willfully breaking international law. Even here in the U.S., Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi is backing the globalists by stating, if the UK violates that international treaty and Brexit undermines the Good Friday Accord, there will be absolutely no chance of a U.S.-UK trade agreement passing the Congress. The Good Friday Agreement is treasured by the American people and will be proudly defended in the United States Congress. There are three ramifications to that statement that must be realized from the aspect of sovereignty. The first is that we are not the police of the world regarding treaty enforcement, especially when we are not even a signatory of that treaty. What the UK decides to do is its own business. The second involves the threat of not having a trade agreement with the UK. Well, we at the John Birch Society suggest that America avoid any trade agreements that are crafted by globalists. Now, why is that? Because of the agenda that is behind the so-called trade agreements. The facts of the matter are that these agreements are about 20% related to trade, and it's the 80% that is either hidden from scrutiny or ignored by the media and public officials due to the pitiful excuse that this is just the way these things are done. Other than the John Birch Society and a few very astute congressmen and even fewer patriot media outlets, no one questions the ramifications to American sovereignty, which brings us to the next fact. The other 80% usually deals in dictating policy to the signatory countries, forcing their legislative bodies to accept policy without going through the constitutional process. The U.S. Constitution clearly states in Article 1, Section 1, Sentence 1, all legislative powers are herein granted in Congress. That means 0 powers are granted to another country to tell us what laws to write or adopt, and it also means 0 powers to the executive branch in writing legislation or even negotiating trade agreements. Another of Congress's enumerated duties found in Article 1, Section 8, that Congress has delegated away under the auspices of Trade Promotion Authority. Now, if that all sounds a bit complicated, then think of it along these lines. If you agree that Representative Nancy Pelosi's policies are more socialist than Americanist, then ask yourself, why would her trade policy be any different? Well, it's not, is it? Finally, the third ramification of Pelosi's statement deals directly with the last part of her statement. The Good Friday Agreement is treasured by the American people and will be proudly defended in the United States Congress. The American people have 0 to do with the Good Friday Agreement, and what we should be treasuring are our God-given rights and our founding principles of limited government, free enterprise, and morality. Plus, the Bible warns us about pride coming before a fall. What should be dutifully defended in Congress are its constitutional limitations. The more it sticks to those, the more freedom and equality we all will have. Now, anytime there is Brexit news, it's always interesting to get the opinion of Nigel Farage, who led the fight to get out of the European Union even as he was serving as a member of the European Parliament. He fought for decades until finally seeing Brexit happen. Mr. Farage blasted the globalists by saying on Twitter, "We should get rid of the rotten withdrawal agreement and simply tell the EU how it's going to be on fishing, state aid rules, and trade." He also tweeted that he addressed the withdrawal agreement last year just after Prime Minister Boris Johnson signed it. He was recorded on video as saying,
"And something that is buried within the withdrawal agreement, we are actually making a commitment in an international treaty that our foreign policy cannot diverge from that of the European Union. You cannot be an independent state and not have your own foreign policy."
And he is 100% correct. Countries need to jealously guard their sovereignty. Becoming entangled into alliances only brings a shedding of that sovereignty, followed by the loss of independence, liberty, and overall freedom. We have zero reasons to be tied at the hip or even the pocketbook with any international organization or countries that don't share our values, and especially not any communist countries. Trump's record on this has been somewhat mixed. Let's give him credit. He has the guts to stand in front of these international bodies and declare that Americanism, not globalism, is our credo. He's also withdrawn us from sovereignty-killing agreements like the Paris Climate Change Agreement and various United Nations agencies. He gets an A+ for those efforts. Plus, one other thing that he's doing right is having less members of the Council on Foreign Relations be part of his administration. That's one organization whose membership should be banned from serving in government. However, his blind spot seems to be his trade policy. The United States-Mexico-Canada agreement was largely negotiated by globalists led by CFR member Robert Lighthizer. The USMCA was your typical globalist agreement that gets us one more step toward establishing a regional union like the European Union. When fully implemented, the North American Union would just be another stepping stone toward achieving world government under the United Nations. Yet, a President Joe Biden would obviously implement more and more globalist ties as seen by many presidents and Congresses before him. The answer to all of this is simply to adhere to our constitutional limitations, which would mean shrinking the size and cost of the federal government by about 80%, eliminating all foreign entanglements, bringing our troops home, and minding our own business for a change. But answers don't implement themselves, do they? It takes work to do so, but it must be done, and it will be done if we are interested in preserving our founding principles. Members of the John Birch Society and supporting patriots all across this nation are right now organizing activities that call attention to key issues affecting your freedom and independence. The first thing to do is to become a member. If you're already a member, then get active. Active organizations in the community get noticed, which of course largely helps in recruiting new members and bringing awareness and additional action to the local electorate. So what kind of activities? Member chapters of the John Birch Society should be meeting at least once a month to plan out activities throughout that month that take them into the community to educate or inform others of key issues. This can include literature distribution at targeted neighborhoods, hosting an information booth and book table at a local community event, hosting a video showing at home, at church, at a library, at a business, even outside. Host an online webinar targeting those in your local area. Now, use the online tools to connect with people, but don't allow your activism to be entirely online. Don't limit your work to within the enemy's platform. Rather, use the tried and true method of getting out into the community, meeting with people who can help with activities, especially like-minded business owners. Grow your influence by growing your network, which in turn educates the electorate. And it all starts at jbs.org. Members of JBS can log into the members area as seen at the top of our new website. Then hover over member forms, click on Search All Forms, and type in Action for Activists. Use either of the two files that come up for additional ideas for action. Additional links are in the video description. And until next time, this is Bill Hahn for the John Birch Society saying stay active, everyone.